Now, of course, we have Monday Motivation, one of Nigeria's leading business and leadership coach, Tess Aromesule. Now, she's passionate about changing the narrative by helping companies enter new markets and also build networks. Today, we're going to be talking about making every day a little better. Hello, Tess. Good morning.
Hi, how are you today?
I am good. And you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So we're talking about making every day a little better, all right?
Yes.
Okay, let's get straight to it. How do we make our days better than they already are? Because I personally need this one. So you're going to be talking to me directly and a lot of other people. So how do we go about all of that?
All right, so predominantly as human beings, we're driven by voices. And when I say voices, they may not be the audible one like I'm talking to you right now, but they are external and internal voices. External voices would be voices like things we see on the TV, things we listen to on the radio, things that are coming through our various senses, our eyes, our ears, and those things form the information of our core. And then those are the external voices. And then we have the internal voices, which is the voice of your conscience, the voice of your mind, the voice of your spirit. And if you are a spiritual person, so things like the voice of the Holy Spirit, sometimes as we describe it, or the voice of the Spirit of God, or the spirit of whatever it is that you believe in that is speaking to you. So you see, we're driven by voices, the external one, which I just explained, and the internal one. Now, these voices come together in this person called you, and it forms your response to issues. It forms the way you react to issues. Now, the ability for you to turn that from a negative to a positive is what determines how good or bad your day is. So the key thing that differentiates you from having a good or a bad day is that word called the filter. So the external voice is coming at you. The internal voice is coming from within as well. The thing that makes it good or bad a day is the filter that you are able to apply. So many of us have different ways of filtering our thoughts. Many of us have different ways or styles of filtering. For me, for instance, I begin to look at, I have trained my mind to begin to see things that have the likelihood to want to toy with my emotional stability or my mental stability. And when I see those things, before they even present themselves, when I see traits of them, I flee. Because I know it has taken me years to get to this level of emotional balance. And so when a day is starting and I see that, you know, the way the first activity, second activity, my reaction, and the way things are panning out, or the way things are just happening, is not really in line with how I've planned it, or things are just happening to me, I sit back and I try to do a mental calculation. Is this something that is within my control? If it's not something within my control, can I do anything about it? If I can't do anything about it, people who know me know that I have a filing system in my mind. I file it away. It may not be as easy as just going away right there at that point, but you have to train your mind to be able to file things, or just put them in a section of your mind that is called unimportant or not urgent. Just file it and just put it away. So the ability for you to have a good or a bad day actually is up to you. I've been to an office before where I went to see someone, and right there on his table, he wrote it plainly, and paraphrasing now because I can't remember the exact words, something to the tune of that. Whether you're having a good or a bad day is none of my problem, but don't bring any of that energy into me because I am having a good day no matter what. That's a state of mind. That's a positive state of mind that person has trained he or herself to be in.
Right, now you just spoke about things that we hear, and you spoke about the filter, yes. Now, how about things that happen to you? Circumstances or events, things that happen to you, say bereavement, say, some form of, calamity. Now, these ones are not just what you hear. These are ones that happen to you. How does one react in such situations where you're trying to make your day better?
I mean, things like grief, things that have to do with deep emotions like that, there are no two ways. Everything has a process, everything has a circle. You have to just live through that circle. So I'm not a grief counselor, but one thing I know is that things that have deep emotional roots like that actually go through a circle. And it is still the same thing that you're going to apply, your reaction to it. So I know that in our neck of the wood, we're taught to be strong, we're taught to be really resilient, in fact, overboard to an extent. But when something demands or requires, for instance, for you to cry, by all means cry. If something demands a certain reaction from you, like even an outburst, by all means, give that outburst, because at the end of the day, in as much as we try to file things as whether negative or positive, we're still humans and we're still going to feel all those emotions. It is when those emotions begin to drive us on a downhill that we now begin to worry and we begin to talk to experts in that line to help us come back uphill, or at least come out of the dark, the dark vacuum that we're spiraling into. So be it a calamity, and I know that a lot of people, because of this pandemic and because of the way their businesses are going, or maybe because the way their lives have been turned upside down, different from what they had planned, are actually going through a lot of emotional turmoil. But like we said like 2 weeks ago, you have to take charge to see now what your current reality is versus the blueprints you had for this year. And based on your current reality, begin to make actionable plans that you'll be able to work on. Because we like it or not, as long as we live on this earth, there will be things that will still thwart or be in the way of our blueprint that we have drawn for our lives. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could be, economic downturn. It could be different things that will come at us. But we have to begin to learn to train our minds in such a way that, yes, when it comes, we give it the natural reaction. And, just try to find the silver lining in the dark clouds that befall us sometimes.
You mentioned silver lining in the dark clouds and all of that. What is the place of, people, a lot of these things that happen, people tend to withdraw to themselves at that point in time, especially when there's grief and all of that, emotional trauma and all of that. People tend to withdraw, people tend to be on their own and all of that. How much is an aura, maybe getting out to see other people? People talk about maybe having to talk to people about it if you have quite an issue. And there's people who tell you that, look, hey, come on, when you talk about stuff, it goes and makes the news and all of that. What place do you think it has talking to people about, such situations?
So in something that is called the Wheel of Life, coaches and psychologists around the world, they have come, we have something that is called the Wheel of Life, and those are like the different aspects of your life that you have to keep in check, because you never know, you want that wheel to be a balanced wheel, such that, imagine yourself riding a bicycle, and then you see the wheel. If the wheel is not equal, that ride is really gonna be bumpy, isn't it? So it's not possible for it to be equal 100% across all the spokes, right? But at least for some parts of that wheel, it has to be equal. And one of the wheel there talks about relationship. Of course, it talks about finance, it talks about your mental well-being, your spirituality, your family. One of it talks about relationship. So if you are someone who is very conscious about your wheel of life and you're trying to build it, right, especially as it relates to relationship, you will find out what you have given out in terms of the energy, or in terms of the kind of empathy, or should I say the level of relationship or friendship that you have given out will begin to come back to you at that time. Because
Wonderful. Would end on that note. Would pick up with this, Tess.
They were going through their own issues.
Would pick up with this, Tess.
So now it's
would pick up with this. Wow. Tess, you are a lovely talker. I can listen to you for hours and hours on end. Would pick up with this, the Wheel of Life, relationships. Don't forget that. We'll pick up next week. That's all we can take now on Motivation. The second lap is done. The final lap to go. Stay with us. We will be back in a jiffy.